Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. We have this as a LinkedIn Live, so you're able to comment through the post, and you can also ask questions, comment, kind of do anything that you want. We have Tucker behind the scenes, as always, being able to pull up and helping everything. So Tucker, as always, thank you so much. This episode number 96 of Tech Sales Insights is brought to you by Dell Technologies. So we'll be talking a lot about that. Kevin Connolly is SVP of Dell's North America Medium Business. So a lot of times we'll have more kind of enterprise centric. So he's got lots of great insights around really the machine that it takes in terms of running that medium business. Our title topic is Winning Medium Business with Integrated Scale and Speed. And also brought to you by Sales Community. For those that are members, great. Thank you. For those that are not, you can go to salescommunity.com and see there's a tag at the top that says summer free. So if you tag that, you get a free year membership. If you do the other one, then you get to pay. So your choice what you want to do. But lots of great content in there, as well as our past podcasts, as well as the ones that we have upcoming. So by way of background, Kevin and I first met back in, I think, 1994 after he graduated Boston College. So I guess you're about 9 years behind me, which at the time I could say you're probably a Cub Scout, maybe would be the right way to say it, but certainly early top talent on the telemarketing side. So you really moved up through the ranks, and we kind of lost touch for a while, and then reacquainted with the whole Naples thing. And it's just super impressive, your amazing career and kind of what you've done and how you've done it, and your big Canada job, and then certainly what you're doing now. And I love your philosophy: show up early every day, better than the day before, and you will conquer great things. So I think that's probably a kind of elaboration on Peter Bell's, answer the bell. So really good. And Tucker, thanks for pulling up Peter's comments there as well. So for interest, I know family is big for you, golf, and I know you spend a lot of time working. You live between Chicago and Naples, and I can totally vouch you're a great husband and father. And like me, proud, I guess we call ourselves Alabama parents, and you got to experience it last weekend with Ken Doherty. So sorry I wasn't able to be there with you. And certainly impressive with your team, $4 billion, 1,200 people. That is certainly a lot. So always feel free to disagree with anything that I said, but just really congrats on a great job. And certainly the EMC machine and the Dell machine are certainly not easy environments, and only the best succeed and do well and stay. So you're obviously in that category. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on, humbled to be on. You see Peter's comment come up, some icons really in this industry, yourself included. I'm thrilled to be on. It's just been a great platform. I've enjoyed the content you've provided. And if I can add anything, it'd be, help one person, one leader out there. They say experience is overrated. I'd rather be young, Randy, and you might sign up for that, but
there you go.
It is what it is. So thanks for the invite.
Totally. And Rob, thanks for your comment. I'm not sure what school you're talking about for safety school, so I don't want to offend anybody. So maybe you can chime in, let us know what you're talking about there. So why don't we jump right in? I'm sure you have great insights. So maybe tell us a little bit more. Obviously, we know Dell, but kind of what are the offerings that you're focused on under the Dell umbrella?
Yeah, so I get up every day. Our responsibility in medium business, mid-market, what I hope to talk a little bit about today are a few particular areas. One, manage a wide young in career force, right? So for leaders that are young and try to figure it out, or early in career, that's the priority of the business. And we represent everything that Dell has to offer. So from cloud to on-prem to remote sites, doesn't matter. We attack the whole base and all solutions from Dell. So that's our responsibility until we pass off, ultimately, usually to the enterprise, when customers begin to consume at scale. But really anywhere under that is our responsibility. So it's a chaotic business, but a lot of fun.
And does that include the printer business as well, or just the kind of higher end compute?
It's literally from printer to
PC,
to our partners, VMware to PCs to Latitudes to hyperscale to cloud solutions and everything we're in between. Yeah.
Wow.
Which sounds, as you, Randy, you've certainly had a diverse and ran the largest scale. It sounds great, but the complexity to do that, has its challenges.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like when I was HP, you sit on the plane next to somebody. Oh, you work at Dell. Hey, can you fix my laptop issue? I'm like, what are you talking about? Right?
Hey, my Wi-Fi is slow. Can you help me? Right, Randy?
Yeah, there you go. So then for your reps, it must be interesting, right? So they cultivate a call it generically SMB, but kind of medium business account, become a great customer, get a great relationship, and if it's a growing company, then that gets passed over to the kind of, what is it, the enterprise sales team?
Yeah, we have a progression within medium business too at Dell, and not to make this call too Dell centric, but we do try to. We're really focused on nurturing the relationship, getting a wide solution in front of the client base. But we actually have a process within our business to migrate the people, the customer, so we maintain the relationship. Ultimately, there are those scenarios though that it will advance. But we do try to keep employee, with customer, keep relationships intact, and move them up the paradigm.
Oh, great. And I would imagine, is the CIO, Chief Information Officer, kind of still the kind of main decision maker these days, or does it vary?
Yeah, it really varies, which makes it a pretty dynamic space. It varies because we might get you when you're born in the cloud, right? So I'll leave the names out of it, but there's some big names that started with a CEO and some back office folks or some app developers. So our relationships will span from a database or an app developer to ultimately in the middle of the space that I'm responsible for, whether it be North Canada, US, will be an IT manager to a CIO and then certainly to a CEO. So it is across the board, Randy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then the transition from EMC to Dell must have been interesting.
It was interesting. We're over 5 years in. It's personally one of the few. A good friend of yours, Bill Scannell, who runs the deal here. But one of the few that has responsibility under Billy to own the entire portfolio. So I've been able to witness both sides, and the cultures are very different. But the combination of the value proposition that EMC had back in the day, value selling, high ticket items, with the Dell supply chain and the excellence that speed and velocity and pricing and operation ability, and you marry those two, it's a pretty good company. And I believe we've been one of the few that have married an acquisition and provided shareholders the value back, and it's worked. So it's been fun. Yeah.
That's great. Yep. So we have a couple come. We're just going to kind of ham and egg here, go back and forth. So Jesse says, it's awesome. Great guest. And then asks, what's the biggest challenge in managing large sales teams versus smaller teams?
Yeah, it's probably keeping it simple, right? So when you're, I don't know, there's a million challenges, but thanks for asking, Jesse. When you have scale, I think one of the golden rules is to try to keep it simple and not overthink it. So especially when you have a lot of solutions to provide and you get excited about that. I'd say simplicity would rule the day, Jesse. Easier said than done, but that's what I would say.
So from an accountability perspective, especially during COVID, right? So if it's an enterprise, sales team, it could be kind of sales calls, the pipeline, the kind of activity with proposals, kind of easier to see. But with the smaller team being so kind of volume centric, I guess for lack of better words, how do you know if somebody's kind of working or not?
Yeah, we have some key indicators. We have some key indicators around, and certainly people joke at the company I'm at. We have no lack of data, right? To look at. I don't know if you've heard that, Randy, but
it's got to be useful. There's always a lot of data, but it's got to be useful.
Yeah. So if you lean in on specifically, let me get specific to large scale. Let me make sure I always go back there. We leverage. The sales, arm is incredibly important, but we leverage operations a lot, and that I'll call operations the data. When you drop down there, really it's activity. We leverage, things like quoting, things like pricing. There are certain metrics where we can tell are people active or not, right? So it's kind of the sales end. There's an operational indicator that will tell us, and then there's a marketing action and an implementation that they're out there fishing, if you will, and they're doing their thing, and they're feeding that back to that said person at COVID at home. So usually there'll be an alarm bell somewhere in there that we don't have the action we need.
Gotcha. And then I would imagine pre-COVID, you probably had the kind of some of the hubs where you had bullpens, and then COVID, everybody's work from home. Now, assume you're trying to kind of get people to kind of, come back to that bullpen environment.
We're not necessarily. We're bringing them back a bit, right? But this is a part of a larger conversation, Randy, that you and I actually talked about offline, and the dynamic of again getting back to scale. COVID, especially during COVID, was flexibility and empathy. And I get asked a lot, what's different from the Peter Bell's on the high-paced, very, let's call it, strong environment that we were brought up in, Randy. And I believe one of the biggest sea changes has been the way you lead. And COVID really amplified that. And I'm pretty passionate about that, about things like leading with a bit more empathy and leading with flexibility. And hey, you want to be in the office? Fine. If you don't, you don't. We really take that stance really heavily now. That comes from Michael all the way down, where we don't require anybody to work from anywhere necessarily. And I really think that's healthy. And we really enjoyed some significant learnings during COVID around mental health, mental wellness, checking in on people. I have a favorite question I really implore my leaders to ask each week. And for those that know me on the line know this, ask how you doing and how can I help? It seems very simple, but we were trying to do a lot of that. And what happens is, even today, you find out a lot of people aren't doing great, right? And I think offering them a level of empathy, a level of flexibility, where you work from, and then time off during the day, breaks during the day, all those things in a large scale organization where you can't put your hands on, for myself, 115, 120 managers in a given week are good cultural things to build into your business. I don't know, Randy, I went off a little bit on your where do you want them to work, but I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean the whole mental health is a big deal. There's Richard Bliss, who I was with last night, and he's, I think, probably one of the outspoken leaders around kind of just the state of mental health and sales, and it's just such a area that's been overlooked for so long. Tucker's correcting me, Richard Harris, so I might have said some other name. So anyway, so Richard Harris is a person. Okay. Thanks, Tucker. But just something that's been so overlooked for so long. So the fact that you're on top of it is fantastic. And I would imagine it's probably hard to get people to open up about that as well. And then how do you kind of cross the line, personal versus work, right?
Yeah. It is hard, not as hard, though, as I thought it would be. It's amazing. If you just shut up and open your ears a bit, we have a term, big ears. You'd be surprised you wouldn't be, Randy, but let me get, when I say you, I mean these young leaders that I see migrating through sales community. And I want to congratulate the forum you've created. Just ask and listen. And you'd be surprised. And boy, when you throw a lifeline or you throw some help at people, or you create a culture of listening, diversity. These people in COVID, a lot of us were in basements and living rooms, and having, I don't know about you, but me having my wife to tell me to tone it down and screaming in your ear, right? It's a really great lesson learned during COVID, and coming post COVID, we're going to take the best of what we learned and try to drive through it through a scalable organization.
Oh, that's great. And then how do you keep the kind of culture intact? Kind of during this, COVID time, now kind of coming out of COVID, because certainly, the EMC and then kind of Dell's icing on the cake, have an amazing culture, but it's kind of as a leadership team, how do you make sure that keeps going?
Yeah, we try to leverage, right? So I use a term, right? Don't be an ostrich, Randy. Don't stick your head in the sand at a company. And I don't fear you would ever be that, knowing you. But I mean, you try to encourage people to really try to become fabric in the company, and don't stick. Your only goal is not to just drive sales every day and then go to bed and wake up. So I try to encourage joining. We have things called ERGs, right? And join an ERG. Make sure you have a mentor. Make sure you.
So sorry, what's an ERG?
Employee. It's an employee relations group. It's groups that we create. I happen to be part of the Latino. I lead the Latino group at Dell, or my boss is part of a group, and we have incredible participation in groups that just get together weekly or monthly and talk about how do we increase diversity, or how do we create an ability to attract talent, or whatever it is. But they're critically important and they're fun, right? So I just, your question was very valid. What do you do to try to create culture? That's one thing, right? Or we enforce things like the mentorships, and just getting to know with an incredibly matrixed organization, as Dell Technology is, or frankly, Randy, as HP was, we're there. I'm sure getting people just to understand the various opportunities that they have, but not only that, but getting them involved in people that run different stuff. And then again, using ERGs or whatever, create this environment. It does get people involved. That's what we try to do.
Yeah, that's great for sure.